Night Treks. I'm Tom, your ghost host. And so the night is dark and it's time for a tale. And the tale I'm going to share is a little different tonight. Um, Actually, I'm going to read a story from a good friend of the show, Elizabeth Parker's book called Mobile's Ghost, Alabama's Haunted Port City. And I read with permission from the author. So, is the story true or not? We'll leave that for you to decide. Tonight's tale is called The Ragged Exhale, and I'm reading straight from her book with her permission. So, we'll talk about more at the end. Several years ago, with hopes of finding a new home that would offer more space and a safe, pleasant neighborhood for their daughters, the Donald family took a chance on a 1905 arts and crafts bungalow on Pecan Street in Mobile, Alabama. The two-story house was one of many popular styles manufactured and sold by Sears early in the century and sat on a shady lot. The backyard was waiting to be planted with flowers, and there was a place for a garden, room for entertaining friends and hosting outdoor gatherings. The Donalds realized an older home would require more maintenance and additionally some fixing up would be in order prior to moving in. They also noticed some odd features to the floor plan. When we first went to look at the house, there was an ugly dark brown unfinished panel wall that divided the center hall in half. So you couldn't see the kitchen and back door from the entry, Mrs. Donald says. The front door opened onto a small foyer, and a long hallway ran from the foyer to this ugly, badly placed wall. The hallway itself had beautiful beaded board paneling, as did the living room. The staircase, which led to the second story, had its landing in the entry too. So anyone living in the house would get to see the misplaced wall with its unfinished paneling several times a day, every day. We kept walking around and around, and I felt like the house was stifled in some way, off kilter or off balance. And next to the beautiful beaded walls of the hallway, that awkward dividing wall was hideous, Mrs. Donald recalls. Mr. Donald commented on the wall, and the realtor explained that the previous owner had put it up. She had not wanted guests entering the house and looking down the hallway into the kitchen. Another thing I was curious about, Mrs. Donald said, was a missing rail at the bottom of the staircase. The realtor said she thought another old lady who had lived there had fallen down the stairs and knocked the rail out. Neither the missing rail nor the dammed up center hall were serious enough considerations to sway the Donalds. The house fit more of their needs than not, and the price was comfortable. A deal was struck, and the Donalds got busy with repairs and paintbrushes. We had the luxury of somewhere else to stay while getting our new house ready, Mrs. Donald says. We had the floors refinished and varnished, and then we started painting. It was while working on the house that the Donalds realized, as Mr. Donald says, someone was mighty interested in the work we were doing. There was a screen door on the back porch, and no one who has grown up with an old screen door can mistake the sharp clatter of a screen door slamming for anything else. Often, while we were painting there alone, we would hear a sound like the screen door being opened and slamming shut, remembers Mrs. Donald. We never saw anyone, but heard the squeak of hinges so often we got used to it. After the first few times, they no longer stopped working to see who had come in the back door. The Donalds were confronted daily by the ugly wall in the hallway and became determined to do something about it before moving in. Mrs. Donald liked the idea of a long hall that ran from front to back, like the old houses she had admired as a child. They also figured Since the house faced north, that a nice breeze might be coaxed through the house when front and back doors were open. Mr. Donald decided it was time for the wall to go. He took a crowbar and started ripping the paneling away. It came down without any resistance, Mrs. Donald says. Just a couple of sheets of paneling that weren't very sturdy. As Mr. Donald wrenched down the last bit of paneling, a rush of air went through the house, and the startled homeowners felt the house literally shudder. We could almost hear the house say, "Ah," says Mrs. Donald. We both got goosebumps. Obviously, the obstructed center hall interrupted the natural flow of air and light through the house. Was the placement not only uncomfortable for the residents, but for the house itself? Mrs. Donald continues, that wasn't the end of the story. 3 days after the Donalds moved in, they were in the midst of arranging and moving furniture when they heard the screen door slam. Now that they were officially in residence, it was conceivable that a neighbor or friend could have come by. We stopped what we were doing and looked expectantly into the kitchen, Mrs. Donald says. Without the wall, one could now look from the living room, down the hall, and into the kitchen. A little old lady with gray hair pulled up into a bun walked slowly down the hall. Mrs. Donald has never forgotten it. She was wearing a black, almost ankle-length dress. We didn't or couldn't move. She walked all the way up the hall, paused at the entrance to the living room, and looked in at what we were doing. Then she continued on her way out to the front door. It was the only time the Donalds would see the woman, and the last time they ever heard the door slam. I guess she was just waiting for the wall to be taken down so that she could walk all the way down the hall the way she remembered it. Elizabeth Parker asked the question. With many people believe houses are living, breathing organisms that develop their own personalities. Are dwellings more than frame and hardware? Like us, do they hold memories, hold experiences, hold their breath? So, what do you think? Could the spirits inhabiting a house actually imbue the house? You've probably seen it before. A house that's not lived in will decay and deteriorate quicker than a home that's lived in. Was this house itself actually imbued with some kind of presence, more than just a ghost, so that when they removed the wall that was not wanted in the first place, that the house could actually breathe again? What do you think? Well, the tale is told. And so until the next dark night, when we have our night treks, this is your ghost host, Tom, saying, stay safe on your strange journeys and night treks.